The other day, I was talking about how a lot of the self-care strategies that are given for teachers and therapists aren't super helpful, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about that topic because I do kind of like to poke fun at some of the advice that some of the self care gurus give, just because the way that they present it is sometimes a little bit dismissive and unhelpful because they're always like, oh, if you're stressed, go meditate, take a walk, or to get organized, use a checklist or a calendar. And usually, if you're tired and stressed, you've probably already tried those things, so it's not super helpful. So, um, while I do think that all of those things are helpful, obviously I know that things like meditating, like all of that is helpful. But the problem is that usually when people are not doing their self care, it's because they don't know how to make time to fit it in. And then there's a bigger problem where it's not just that they don't make time for the self-care, it's just that when they're actually doing their work related things, the work that they're doing, it feels like they're just kind of putting out fires and they're only doing these immediate things that need to be done. And a lot of times, at least with a lot of the therapists that I am working with, they have these they have their caseload, they have their things that are kind of like the things that are the immediate needs that they have to take care of, but usually they want to do something more. They have other ambitions that they might want to work on in their facility or their with their caseload, maybe in their community, and they can't really figure out what that is, or if they know what it is, they can't really figure out how to make time to do it. And so it's not just that they aren't blocking out the time for the self care, it's just that the time that they actually are working isn't fulfilling. So that's more of an even like that's kind of a bigger problem because if they were doing work that felt good and fulfilling, then it's not that it wouldn't feel like work, but it would be a lot more invigorating to them and a lot more exciting. So really the bigger problem is that a lot of times when you do some kind of a productivity strategy and it's just like a post-it note with a list or a calendar or a list of just what you need to do today, then a lot of times if you're just starting with what you need to do today, then you're not thinking long term, and it's really easy to kind of just focus on um, just day to day instead of thinking long term. So what I do instead is that rather than just thinking one day at a time, I always will figure out what my big project is for the entire 90-day period for the entire quarter. And then I'll work backwards and figure out within that 90-day period what I need to be doing each month. So within the month, obviously, the latest month in that quarter, I'm not going to be day to day thinking about what I'm doing, 2 months from now, but I will have kind of a high level idea of what I'm going to do each month. And then in the immediate time period, I am going to be more specific. So I'll figure out what I'm going to do for the quarter, and then I figure out what I'm going to do for each month. And then I figure out within the next 2 week period, that's where I actually use as a pretty standard to-do list or a calendar. And I'm looking at day to day. I actually go in and write Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, what I'm doing for that next 2 week period. And then every Sunday, I am updating that list for the next 2 weeks. So when I'm getting up in the morning, I am looking at my list of things, but I've already prepared that to-do list in advance. And what I do is that all of the things that are associated with whatever my big project is, that's kind of my long-term thing, those things go in the to-do list first, and then I will stick any other just random errands in after that rather than the other way around. And that way I've already blocked out the time for those big important things rather than putting them on the back burner, because it can be really easy when you have something that seems far away. It can be really easy to not be motivated to do that when you haven't started with the end and worked back and tried to figure out what do I need to be doing now to work towards that end.